In the year 1066, the fate of England balanced on the edge of a sword. When the childless death of King Edward the Confessor ignited a power struggle, three men all claimed the throne. Harold Godwinson, the most powerful earl in England, William, Duke of Normandy, and Harold Hardrada, King of Norway. The first blow fell in the north when Hardrada, accompanied by Tostig Godwinson, Earl of Northumbria, invaded with a massive Viking army. But after a series of smaller engagements, the two faced off against Harold at the Battle of Stamford Bridge on September 25, 1066 there. Amidst a hailstorm of arrows, Viking hopes were soon dashed. Though outnumbered, Harold's infantry stood firm behind their shields, forming a wall of defense so effective that the Vikings nicknamed them the Shield Wall of the Northmen. As the battle raged, Tostig attempted to rally his men, but was slain. Seeing their champions fall, the Vikings broke ranks, fleeing for their ships or perishing in the melee. Harold Godwinson's victory was swift and decisive, and in the aftermath he made a triumphal entry into York, taking possession of northern England. Yet even as the king celebrated his hard-won victory, messengers arrived from the south, bearing dire news. While Harold was engaged in battle in the north, William had landed in southern England with a battle-ready Norman army numbering between 7,000 and 10,000 men. William was no amateur soldier. He had spent years training his troops, instilling in them discipline and proficiency with weapons like the heavy cavalry, longbow, and sword. They rode on horseback while they fought, raining arrows down upon their enemies before charging in with their swords flashing. But William's army was more than just strong. It represented a new style of warfare that relied on speed and maneuverability rather than brute force. And with every passing day, the Normans advanced further inland. Harold now faced a terrible choice. Should he march south and risk being defeated piecemeal by William, or could he stand and fight? With little time to deliberate, Harold chose the latter. And on October, his exhausted army met William's at the Battle of Hastings near the town of Senlac. As the two armies drew close, the English formed a shield wall, a defensive formation designed to withstand the shock of the Norman cavalry charges. From the center of his line, Harold watched as William's men advanced, their armor gleaming in the afternoon sun. Again and again the Normans charged, only to be beaten back by the English wall of shields. During one such charge, Harold's brother Gyrth, riding his destrier, a massive war horse bred for battle, broke through the Norman lines, reaching Harold to urge him to lead a counterattack. But the king refused, wisely choosing to stay on the defensive until his knights could return. But the English shield wall wasn't invincible. A small group of Norman cavalrymen managed to flank the English left wing, opening up a gap in the shield wall. Seeing this, William ordered his foot soldiers to press the attack, forcing many English soldiers to abandon their defensive formation. Now the Normans, sensing victory, pushed forward, eager to break the English completely. But as if sensing the tide was turning, Harold Godwinson rallied the English, leading them in a furious counterattack that drove the Normans back. Yet it was during this moment of chaos that William's knights launched another assault. But instead of charging straight for the English, the Normans pretended to retreat. This feint worked all too well. Parts of Harold's army, including his own son Canute, broke ranks, chasing after the fleeing horsemen. The English pursuit, however, quickly turned into disaster. The cavalry never looked back, disappearing. This led to the introduction of new architectural techniques and the employment of masons and other craftsmen. The Norman conquest also had profound linguistic implications. As William and his followers took control of England, they brought with them the language of the Frankish court, Old French. Over time, this linguistic influence led to the incorporation of many French words into the English language, enriching its vocabulary and changing its character. Commonplace words like beef and pork, from boeuf and pork, as well as words like government and justice, all found their way into English thanks to the Normans. This linguistic fusion was a byproduct of the conquest and continues to influence the English language today. One of the most enduring symbols of the Norman conquest is the Bayeux Tapestry, a 70-meter-long piece of linen that depicts scenes from William's invasion of England, culminating in the Battle of Hastings, though not actually a tapestry, but rather a large piece of cloth embroidered with scenes from the Norman campaign. It provides a unique visual account of the events of 1066, showcasing not just the battles, but also daily life and customs of the period. While the Norman conquest brought about significant changes, it's essential to remember that England didn't cease to exist. Rather, it was reshaped and transformed. Many Anglo-Saxon traditions, laws, and customs endured, blending with Norman practices to form a new English identity. The conquest wasn't a clean break, but a merging of two cultures that laid the groundwork for the modern English identity. Furthermore, the impact of the Norman conquest extended beyond England's borders. William's victory at Hastings marked the end of Viking expansion into England and the beginning of a new chapter in Anglo-Saxon history. The threat from the north diminished, allowing the English to focus on consolidating their kingdom under Norman rule. The consequences of this shift would ripple through the centuries, shaping England's role in Europe and its place in world history. In conclusion, the Norman conquest of England in 1066 was a pivotal event that dramatically reshaped the course of British history. The victory of William the Conqueror at the Battle of Hastings ushered in an era of profound change, introducing a new feudal system, a new language, and a new ruling class. The legacy of the conquest can still be seen in the English landscape, its language, and its institutions. As we reflect on this momentous event, we are reminded of the lasting impact that one battle can have on the course of history. If you liked this episode, please subscribe for more history. See you next time.